So markets were on the rise today. You can see the Dow is down just a little bit now as Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent offered some insights on where talks with China stand. Listen.
China is a command and control economy, and we and our allies will neither be commanded nor controlled. They are a state economy, and we are not going to let a group of bureaucrats in Beijing try to manage the global supply chains. We've had substantial communication with the Chinese over the past few days, and we believe that there will be more forthcoming this week.
You know, maybe these trade negotiations need a little Louis Armstrong soundtrack to get them going a little bit. Larry,
chill out.
Yeah,
chill out a little
chill
bit.
Out a little bit. You're in a good mood. You're chilled out. But what do you think about what Treasury Secretary said there about the China talks?
Well, look, he's got to punch back. It's very important. You can't, at the level of rhetoric, you can't let them say whatever they want to say. President Trump did it the other day. He'll probably do more of it if it continues. I read through the transcript of Scott and Jameson Greer's presser. It's very good, very, very good. I would, I don't know how this is going to end. I don't really believe that China thinks it can put export restrictions, whether it's rare earths or the other things. Not only rare earths, they're hitting the whole world. Yeah. It's a rest of world thing. It's not just the United States. So I don't really, they couldn't, as I believe Scott made the point here, or Jameson, they couldn't even process that if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. And it has the feeling, the vice minister of the Commerce Ministry, who's a bad apple, apparently. I don't know him. They got a new crowd from when we were negotiating. Mm. But this just looks like a kind of temper tantrum, and I'm not sure it was authorized, and I'm not sure whether Xi Jinping is behind it. There's a lot we don't know. I noticed the stock market is not panicking. I mean, I know it got whacked last Friday because that was a big surprise, right. But it's sort of taking it in stride right now. One thing struck me reading through this again. They're hung up on rare earths and related matters. They're not really negotiating a trade deal, okay? We had a trade deal called Phase 1, which was led by Robert Lighthizer, and I was part of that team, Manouchian, and Wilbur Ross, et cetera. But that was a deal with the United States government, and it was a comprehensive deal, and it included commodities and manufacturing and intellectual property rights and forced transfer of technologies and American ownership of businesses in China and other matters. Signed by the President of the United States, who in that point was Donald Trump. He's representing the U.S. government. China ignored it. Mm. They ignored it. Now, first they said they ignored it because of COVID, which I don't understand. But then they ignored it because they whispered Biden, okay? Yeah, so Biden's a dummy, but it was the United States government that signed that with the government of China. Mm. And they just reneged on it. You can't do that, okay? Or China does it, but you're not supposed to do that. And, of course, the World Trade Organization, which is a powerless, ridiculous operation, should be banned, never did a thing, never lifted a finger. So my point is, it would be good if you could get back to talking about actual trade policy, A, B, C, D, E. Do you see what I'm saying? What they're doing here is they're completely hung up on rare earths and export controls, and for that matter, tariffs as well. Each of these meetings that Geneva, London, Stockholm, Madrid, whatever. They're all about just a little narrow slice. And it pops up in here. They need to talk about a large-scale trade deal. Now, maybe when President Trump meets, I guess he's going to meet with Xi Jinping. I don't know that with certainty. Lauren's shaking her head, and you might be right. I don't know. But I'm assuming in Korea at APEC he'll meet with him. They should talk about resetting a trade agenda that could benefit both nations and the rest of the world.
Do you
right
think
now,
they're waiting,
that's
though,
not
to have
happening.
that substantive conversation that we were talking about? There's a lot of rhetoric flying around the Twitter sphere and the news wires now where they don't want to derail those substantive conversations, so they start picking on little fine points here that aren't the full substance of the trade agreement that we have to. I think both sides know we have to come to an agreement. We can't be indefinitely in a camp of uncertainty.
Well, Gordon Chang, who's a China expert, was on last night, and he makes a point, and I don't know, but he feels that Xi Jinping does not have internally the power and authority in the Communist Party that he once exercised. And therefore, you get these rogue ministers doing this, that, and the other thing. No one's quite certain who's on first and, what's on second. So that's a possibility as well. But look, the China economy is terrible, okay? And they've never recovered from the building property collapse and COVID and so forth. Their consumers don't consume, their consumers save. So there's still a, state subsidy. Scott is right. It's a command and control, right? Yeah. So, they subsidize the state-owned companies. Right. Once upon a time, that wasn't so bad, but it's gone back to that. The Deng Xiaoping reforms are pretty much out the window. They're still doing, they're subsidizing it, and they're trying to export it, and the rest of the world doesn't like that. Europe doesn't like it. Look, Europe's Japan doesn't like it. Australia doesn't like it. We don't like it. Nobody likes it. So it'd be nice if the Western countries acted in... APEC would be a good place for the Western countries, for a change, to act in concert and say to China, behave yourself.
Well, you can't, trying to get China to change on consumers is impossible, because a real consumer economy requires freedom, which you're never going to have in a communist countries. I agree with Scott Bessent, like their economy should be reoriented, but how do you do that with a communist party?
Won't happen.
So this alignment of Western countries, I'm with you on that, Larry. So who do you pick off first and really get, we're still kind of feuding with Canada. We're still kind of feuding with Mexico.
Actually, Europe has been much better.
They've been okay, but do we need to get
better.
Canada and Mexico on board? Something to happen there now.
Yeah, I guess sort of, yes, okay.
They're our biggest trading partners,
I mean, transshipping through Mexico has been a big, China transshipping through Mexico has been a very big problem. It will come up in the USMCA discussions next year. We'll see. I think Mexico has been semi-helpful on fentanyl. I'm not sure that they've gone on the manufacturing side yet. Canada, I don't know. Canada, they're important trading partners with us, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I'm waiting on Europe. I kind of like what I see in Germany. It's very Trumpian. Yeah. Italy is Trumpian. Not Macron, he does, but the others are sort of Trump, and that's good. So maybe they'll do something. So because Germany's annoyed at Japan or China selling cheap electric cars and ruining their market, and so I kind of like that. So if you get them pissed off, maybe they'll take some action for a change. But it's like, grow up, China. Just grow up. And where's the World Trade Organization?
Well, you said they're powerless. I mean,
we never
it's
should
worthless.
The mistake was made 25, 30 years ago. We shouldn't have normalized relations with China. We shouldn't allow them all these high tariffs because they said they're an undeveloped economy. And we should deal with them as basically the dictatorship that they are.
Can I go back to something that you said, which is that you're not supposed to, as a foreign country, make a deal and then renege on it? So this issue with soybeans, I hear what you're saying on strength and numbers, but until a coalition forms and starts to put some pressure on them, what can the president do? The soybean issue is a huge issue, and he's very peeved about it. Yep. But what options does he have to force them?
He's going to give $15 billion to the farmers. In the first term, he gave them $30 billion. I don't know what else to do because they reneged on the agreement. Actually, it was Wilbur Ross who ran that section. I was his able deputy when we were traveling to China and in Washington. We cut a big deal. We had, numerical targets, so you don't have to meet them precisely, but you could meet them generally. They didn't meet any of them. None of them, nada. And soybeans became a big deal. Look, soybean farmers. There's a senator from Alabama who's going to be governor. He's a very influential guy with Trump. Name's Tuberville. Yeah. I mean, they're not selling any soybeans, and apparently they had a huge crop, so prices are falling.
Well, and we gave a lot of money to Argentina, and Argentina turned around and sent a bunch of soybeans to China. So I kind of understand.
We gave which money to Argentina?
Well,
that was the $20 billion currency support.
Oh, that's a swap.
It's a swap.
That's not.
Okay,
that's
so maybe
not
we could quibble about the word gave, but we did a deal with it.
It's a currency swap.
It's a currency swap.
But
we swapped with them, and they turned around and sent a whole bunch of soybeans to China.
Yeah.
But as the point was made yesterday, that deal was probably in place far before the decision was made to do a currency swap. I think what the president is trying to do there is shore things up for them to have better relations so they don't keep doing things like that going forward.
They need to dollarize their economy. Okay, Malay's done some very good things on spending.
Yeah.
But he's still running a 30% inflation rate plus because the peso is worthless. So you can't do what he wants to do. And I was involved many years ago in Argentine currency reform under Menem, who was a Peronist. But anyway, so one way or another, they have to link the peso to the dollar. There are many ways to do that. You could dollarize 100%. We had a currency board that worked. It worked in 6-7 years. The great thing about Argentina is these reforms work until they don't. It's just like their history is just, they do good for 6 or 7 years, and then
the history is very bad.
And then it gets bad again.
Very bad track record.
The left comes.
Can I just say, I don't
It's
like...
a beautiful place. You ever been to Buenos Aires?
Bad track record
It's
on mine.
fabulous.
Beautiful. They have the best steak in the world.
The Pink Palace, right. You can eat a huge steak and you're hungry in an hour or two because the beef is so wonderful.
Larry, just to go back to this farmer issue, I don't like the idea of another bailout to farmers.
know.
I want China to live up to its obligations and take the soybeans and do business the way it's supposed
You're
to.
right.
So when you tell me the president that there's not much he could do, that is really disheartening.
Yeah, well, call Xi. I don't know what to think.
Well, what would a deal?
I mean, you're right. You're 100% right. And you're finishing my paragraphs again, which is wonderful. But it's like, what else is he going to do? That's the problem. Look,
Well-
China is a bad actor. But I will say one thing. They just got their butt kicked in the Mideast, okay?
Yep.
They bet on Iran, and they lost.
Yeah.
And I wrote a piece yesterday suggesting maybe this whole rare earths baloney is a little Chinese temper tantrum because they lost. They were not in the group in Egypt. They are not going to share in the recovery of the Middle East, the new Middle East. They bet on the bad guys and they lost. And now that Trump will have some time to refocus on Ukraine, right? Zelensky's going to be in town this weekend. China may lose again.
Yeah.
They may lose again. They're backing the wrong horses, and I love that. So not all is happy talk over there. All right. Soybeans notwithstanding, they got problems.
Larry just gave us a little appetizer. What we're going to get deeply in the C block here. And we're going to go to break. Jackie's going to make a phone call to President Xi.
Yeah, I'm going to
What happens there?
She's right. She's 100% right.
I'm just
I
done
just
with
don't
the
know what to do
bailouts.
about it. I get it. No, I get it.